Hello, 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 sellers. It's Kathy, and I love to be selling. Come on in. We're going to talk a super, super popular topic, which is how do I reboot my eBay selling? How do I get it going again if it's slow? How do I get it going if it's stale or if I'm stale? How do I refresh? How do I reboot in a way that works? Because that's what I'm all about, and So come on in, and we're going to talk about rebooting your eBay selling and your eBay sales. So let's get right to it, everybody, right? What got me thinking on this was um, I took a bus today. If you don't know, you can probably tell from the background here, I live in New York City. And in New York City, we use mass transit. Hi, Louette. Good to see you. So coming home today, I was out running some errands. I took a completely different bus route. I said, you know what? Let me change it up. I had so much fun because, again, the great thing about the bus in New York City is I can look around. So I'm looking at different buildings than I typically look at because I'm going up a different avenue. Um, I also don't know the stops because it's a different bus route that I'm used to. So, I'm checking that out, which thankfully I jump right on my phone and I check out what the bus routes are. I also spoke to the nice bus driver, let him know where I wanted to get off. He let me know the nearest stop. But I tried something new. And by doing that, again, I'm looking at different things. I'm more alert because I'm not, it's not, I know for myself is that when it's same old, I may not be completely paying attention because I'm so used to the route. I know exactly where I'm going. So I may not be paying so much attention to my surroundings or anything because I know it's 3 stops or it's 4 stops or whatever it is. And that's what I wanted to say for our eBay selling. Oh, and the other thing, the reason I was on this bus was a very nice business was going out of business that made display items and storage items. And they were giving all this stuff away. I was like looking at it going, really? Really, it was all because sometimes when when stores say, oh, free or oh, this or that, and then you walk in and it's like one thing's free and then they want payment on other things. So, I mean, I went expecting, whatever it was going to be. It was all free, these wonderful boxes and containers and storage things. I'm like, I literally spent 3 hours today reorganizing my inventory area. It's such a joy. And that made me think too about the rebooting. So, sometimes sellers, we can feel stale. And this is true whether you're selling for a month, whether you're selling for a couple of months or 6 months. It can start to feel like same old, same old. Like I don't have that, Yahoo that I had about eBay selling when I first started selling. And I don't want to be like that. I started selling on eBay, honestly, very part-time. I needed just some nice little part-time money because I was taking care of my mom, but I enjoyed it. And for me, if you don't know, because my mom was sick, which is why I needed something very part-time so I could focus on her. Doing the eBay was a nice break from dealing with doctors and nurses and hospitals. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing the listing. I enjoyed doing the shipping. I enjoyed the whole selling experience. And then I decided to grow and scale my eBay. So sometimes as we're selling, whether it's part-time or full-time, we can lose that fun, particularly when sales get slow. But sometimes we lose the fun too when it gets really busy because I'm like, oh my goodness, I got all this stuff to pack. I know that sounds like, oh, Kathy, I want that. And I hear you. But it can be challenging, particularly when eBay selling is part-time. All of a sudden, a bunch of sales come in, particularly if they come in overnight and you've got plans for the morning and you've got one business day handling, which means it needs to go out. So just keep that all in mind. But back to the idea of refreshing is to look at what can I tweak? What can I change around? Because I want to stay fresh. And I also want to stay enlivened about my eBay selling. I want to be learning new things because eBay's always changing. The internet's always changing. If you're doing social media, it's always changing. Also, inventory is always changing. And that can be where you're sourcing, whether it's yard sales or thrift stores or consignment stores or retail. The inventory they're selling changes. We know this when you go into a thrift store. You go in one week and there's tons of great men's clothes, and you go in the next week and there's tons of great kids' toys that you just don't know what you're going to see, and that's part of the fun. Same thing if you're doing retail arbitrage. You go in one week and there's great prices on puzzles, and then you go in the next week and it's great prices on home and garden. So it's that thing of staying on our toes and being willing to go with what is available. I always say plant you grow where you're planted. You know, one area like here in New York City, we typically have really good clothing because you have so many designers that are in New York, and they run a lot of great sample sales and clearance sales, that kind of thing. We're not so good for crafts. New York City's not great for crafts, or not any of the stores that I have found. We're also typically not too great for home and garden, just because most people are in apartments. That's the kind of thing you're going to find out in the suburbs or rural areas more. So again, grow where you're planted, what's available where you are. But then when you go in, so let's pick thrift stores and keeping it fresh when we go into thrift stores. I know for myself, there's certain stores that I hit and I might have a certain routine. Like I go right for the women's clothing, or I go right for the kids' toys. The big one that I go to, there's a Salvation Army. I'll go by the color coded on the tags because it's different discounts on different color codes. So I might go through and just be looking for the stuff that's really heavily discounted. But what I want to encourage you to do is whatever categories you do really well. So let's say you're doing really well with women's clothing, or you're doing really well with men's clothing, is to keep it fresh. And this is something I do when I go to thrifts. Always look at one other category. Even if when you look at it, you go, yeah, there's not really anything here that really grabs me. Still go and look. So if I'm always doing women's clothing, perhaps also go look at men's shoes or men's clothing. If I'm always doing women's clothing, maybe go and look at housewares. If I'm always doing housewares, maybe go and look at kids. Again, you don't need to purchase anything, but just to look. Do you see anything? Like, is there a lot of a certain size? Okay. So let's say there's a lot of women's 6 or 5, or like with clothing, a lot of plus size. That's good to know. So then I know, wow, and then go and look. So if you're noticing like, boy, I've never really sourced women's clothing before, which I know is rare for most of us, but let's say you don't. Let's say you've really been sourcing housewares. Is when you see the women's clothing, like a lot of plus size, and you go, oh, let me see if the plus size sell. I pull my phone right out in the store. I used to go in the corner. I don't anymore. There's so many resellers out. I really don't, I'm fine if they know I'm a reseller. Not necessarily when I'm in something like a yard sale, that I'm a little more cagey about, but definitely go and check. So for instance, women's clothing was one that I was very familiar with. So then I would go and look at housewares. So look at the plates. Look at the patterns. Is it an in-demand pattern? Look at the flatware. Look at the vases. Look at the collectibles. For me here in New York, I'm limited on my space, so I'm really not looking at larger, heavier items. I'm looking at the smaller, and you do really well some small collectibles. I also find people will impulse buy small collectibles because it doesn't take up a lot of room. So they'll pick up that cute little figurine. They'll pick up that cute little animal because it reminds them of their dog or their cat. They'll pick up, again, that cute little figurine because they love owls or they love unicorns. So look for that. The little small cute things, oftentimes, one is they can go in a lot. If you see like by the same manufacturer or the same theme, and that'll happen particularly with thrift stores, but you'll also see it with yard sales because the person's a collector, or they love that. They love unicorns. They love owls. They love bluebirds. You'll see a bunch, and those can be great. And this is something about doing something different. If you've never done bundles, consider it. Particularly if things get a little slow and you might have a lot of lower ticket items. So you might have a lot of things that are like $9.99, $10.99, $12.99, $14.99 with free shipping. Is take a look at, like, bluebirds is a great one, or owls. Is can I put this in a lot? Because if somebody collects owls, they might like 2 or 3 cute little owl figurines together. Um, if somebody collects bluebirds, they might like the little bluebird figurine with the pretty little bluebird plate, or the pretty picture book about bluebirds with the placemats that are bluebird themes. So always think like this book selling on itself only goes for like $5.99, $6.99. Can I put it in with something else? Cookbooks can be great that way. Is that you have, like, let's say, some utensils that you're selling, or you might have some nice bakeware. So let's say it's a lasagna pan. Do you have an Italian cookbook? Do you have sometimes you'll see when you're in the thrift stores, you'll see nice recipe cards. Can I put the nice recipe cards blank, or that have nice recipes on them, in with the bakeware item? Again, it's the refresh. It's the reboot. Have you ever tried it? Try it. Right? What's the worst thing that can happen? It won't sell. You know what I mean? So then you'll try something else. But oftentimes when sales are slow, or when we're feeling stale, which is like, I just, eBay, I'm just not feeling it right now. Well, what can I do to get myself feeling it? Because that's what I do. Right. I know for most of us, it's like, we've got bills to pay, right? I need to pay for the gas in my car. I want to save up for this family vacation. I'm saving for my kids' education. I want to pay my mortgage. I want to pay for the gardening stuff that I want to do to the outside of the house, those nice shrubs that I want to get. Is how can I get this to sell, right? Because the greatest refresh is when we get sales. We're like, yay. Is, again, maybe the lasagna pan with some recipe cards, or with a cookbook. Maybe that'll work. Or the lasagna pan with the flipper that works for the lasagna. Always think about what could go with this. The cute little kid's dress. What about a hair bow? Is there a hair bow that I could add with this? Is there a cute little purse that I already have, or I see at the thrift stuff or the yard sale for free or really low cost? I could put the cute little purse with the dress. Okay, so the refresh. Well, how can I change my schedule? Okay, do you always pack in the morning your sales? Maybe pack some at night. Do you always pack at night? Leave a little time in the morning, so that way when overnight sales come in, I've got time to do it. Okay. I never put in thank you cards. Let me try some thank you cards. I see them at the thrift store. They're not a lot of money. Let's try the thank you card and put that in. I don't have a business card. Try a business card. There are a lot of inexpensive places online where you can print. You could do your own if you wanted to on paper and just put your business information. Okay. Those of us with eBay stores, don't forget coupons. If you're not doing coupons, definitely think about slipping a nice little coupon in to get a repeat buyer in your package is a great one. But how can I refresh? I know for me, and again, I'm limited in space, reorganizing my inventory, even a small part of it. For instance, coffee mugs, alphabetize them, right? Or by size. Smaller mugs are all together, my 8 or 10 ounce. Then my super size are all together, which is the 12, 14. Maybe all my Starbucks are together. All the flowers are together. But it can really help to do it by theme if you sell a lot of mugs, because then I can just go and grab it. I did this with clothing. I've got clothing in boxes, and I also have clothing racked. So the clothing that is racked, I bought online, those plastic round things that the stores have. It has the sizes on them. At least the stores here in the city do. So it'll say, small, medium, large, or 8, 10, 12, or toddler, or whatever it is. And I did that. I did that in my closet. So no, don't just rack by size. I put the circle things, and mine are colored. It came with a little marker because I wanted to write my own. And I put it in my closet so I can see small, medium, large. It's also really good because if you look in the closet and you go, wow, like a month ago, I had a ton of mediums and now I've got like no mediums. It's a really quick, easy reminder that a certain size is selling. And if you sell a lot of clothing, it can also help to, again, batch them by color. So I'm putting all the blues together, all the reds together, all the greens together. Again, it's another great way to help you see trends. For instance, again, you bought a lot of blue and you may think, oh, well, Kathy, I'm going to know this when I'm packing and selling. Not necessarily. Sometimes, just our minds are going in a lot of places. But if I can look in the closet and I see, okay, I've got reds and I've got greens and I've got blues and I've got yellows, okay, is all of a sudden I have no yellow. Well, what does that tell me? They're really buying yellow. So then when I'm outsourcing, it reminds me to buy yellow. As I'm going through and looking at everything, is be sure to pick up the color yellow. It helps me to stay on trend for what is selling. And all of this refreshes. It gets me excited about my selling again. It gets me enjoying the whole process of selling more. So try new things. You've never tried best offer? Try it. Bulk edit. It doesn't take a lot of time. If you get hit with a ton of lowball offers, and it can happen, you can also bulk edit and you can set up an auto decline. Okay. Now be kind. When items are $50, right? I'll do an auto if I get really, really hit with a lot, like on my $50 items, all of a sudden these people keep offering me $5. Then I'll do an auto decline like around $20. And this is why on best offer, sometimes people just come in with a low number because they want to see, will you take the low number? What the heck? They're either a reseller or they're just looking for a good deal, or they just want to see if you're just trying to dump the item and get rid of it. So yes, $5 on a $50 item is a bit low, but if they come in with 20 or 25, okay, they're like half off, which is a little low, but you can counter. Okay, so when they send in 25 for a $50 item, you counter with whatever price you're willing to take, 40, 35, whatever it is. And if you want, and sometimes I'll do this, I'll put a little note in, hey, come up a bit, and the item is yours. So it lets them know that there's a person on the other side, and let's have a little conversation here. Do you really want this shirt? Do you really want this dress? Just come up a little bit, and then I'm glad to meet you, and let's get this sold. Okay. So that's my thing for you is when you're feeling stale, when you need a reboot, one, it could be a reboot of me. I need a reboot is what can you do to change up your schedule? Just any little thing. It could be as simple as, when I need to try a different breakfast. I'm always eating this one cereal. Let me try yogurt and fruit. I'm always doing eggs. Let me have some toast and fruit. Just change it up. I always take this route to work. Let me go down a different street. I always do this route to the thrift store. I do this. Go down a different street, okay? Even if it takes a little more time, because you know what? You might find a great store. You might find a great source for inventory. Somebody maybe left something on the curb. Aha, free inventory, okay? So try different routes, try different schedules. With your eBay, change it up. You've never bundled? Try it. Particularly if something's been sitting there for a while. Just, look at what you have on hand. Is there a little something I can add to this? A little bow, a little purse, a recipe card. I'm thinking like with clothing, is there perhaps a piece of jewelry that would go really nicely with this, right? So I could do the top with the bracelet or the earrings that have also just been sitting there, and maybe I'll pair them together and do it, or a little lint brush. Okay. Always think of what can I do to add? What can I do to refresh? What can I do that will bring the shoppers in to shop with me? And then it gets the sales going. You've never tried best offer? Try best offer. You're getting slammed with lowball offers? Do auto decline, but be reasonable, because you want the whole thing with best offer is you want to get that dialogue going. So then they're talking to you, you're talking to them. And this has happened to me on best offer. Sometimes when I'm going back and forth, they end up buying other things from me too, which is great. So because of the pleasant conversation I have with them saying, hey, come up a little bit, they go, hey, I'm also looking at this other thing. And if I buy that, can we do some kind of deal on the shipping? And I'll get that from international shoppers too. Okay. So just know the great thing with best offer is it gets the dialogue going. We're talking, and then we can move on to a sale. There's other things that can really, really help you with your eBay selling. And I wrote a great guide for you. It's free. Dominate eBay search and win more sales. And just hop over to my website, ilovetobeselling.com, and you'll see it right there. Because when you have that item listed, or perhaps it's not getting the attention that you think it should get, there's some great tips in my free guide that will help that item to stand out to the shoppers, and that's what you want. because you get the eyeballs of the shoppers on your item, and then your items get sold. So grab my free guide, Dominate eBay Search and Win More Sales, and stay refreshed. Just think about, what can I do to change things up a bit so that you stay fresh, you stay energized, and you stay enjoying wonderful eBay selling and all your wonderful sales. Bye-bye, everybody. I'm Kathy, and I love to be selling.